Good morning, afternoon, or evening, folks, and welcome to Cast of All Trades, the show where we talk about developing skills, exploring ideas, and following curiosity. I'm your host, Orion, and in this episode, I share how I paid off all of my student loans in less than a year after graduating from university and the key principles you can use to pay off your debts faster. So let's dive right into it. I graduated from Utah Valley University on May 2nd, 2024, having taken out about $31,334 in debt, no job, and moving halfway across the country the following week. On April 4th, 2025, I paid off all of my student loans. You may be wondering, why did I pay off my student loans so fast? Most people don't pay off their student loans for 5-10 years. They follow the standard student loan payoff track timeline. For me, there were two primary reasons why I dedicated myself so fervently to paying off my student loans quickly. First is the psychological benefit. For me, I know that when I don't owe anyone anything, I feel free. There was a major mental relief I felt when I finished paying off my student loans. Here's a short clip of a walk that I took around the time when I paid off all my student loans, and you'll understand. Only one word can describe this feeling right now. Freedom! Second, there's of course the financial benefit. When you're debt-free, life becomes much cheaper. You don't have another thing that your money's going towards. You can allocate more of your money towards investing, towards things you really care about, things you want to do, and you don't have to spend nearly as much on things that you just don't need anymore. I know that I could live pretty happily on less than $1,000 a month while I was a college student. So for me to know that, hey, I don't have something breathing down my neck saying, you have to pay me more, you have to earn more, you must do more, that, hey, I can live pretty well for less than $1,000 a month. Like, I've done it before, I could do it again. Not to say that it was the most ideal living situation, but it worked, and I was still happy doing it. So, with that in mind, how did I actually pay off my student loans so fast? I'm going to break this down into 4 different sections: before college, during college, after college, and making it easier. While I recognize that not all of these tips will apply to everyone, in particular, before college tips don't necessarily apply to people who have already been to college and still have student loans, this is more of a how I went through my framework of choosing where do I go, how do I minimize my student loan payments, etc. It starts off early. So starting from before college, the thing that you want to really consider is, do you really need a college degree for the thing you want to do? For me, I originally wanted to go into mechanical engineering. I wanted to make things, I wanted to be an engineer. I figured, yep, that needs a degree. If I want to get a job in engineering, I need to do that. I did engineering for a while, but then realized, wait a second, I don't really want to do engineering. Yes, I want to make stuff, but I want to make my own stuff, not other people's stuff. So from there, I transitioned over into business, where if I were to start in business originally, maybe I would not have gone on to get a college degree in the first place. So really consider, do you need a college degree for the thing that you want to do? Next, if you're in high school, can you take college classes for free in high school? If you can, do that, absolutely. It saves you so much time in college because you're able to transfer over credits from high school that you earn for free. I did a number of college classes in high school and have probably shaved off a semester or two that I ultimately would have had to do in college. Next is choosing a school with a high quality of education for a low cost. The reason why I flew halfway across the country to go to Utah Valley University is because 1, it was a great school, 2, they had awesome professors, and 3, it was such a cheap school. All things considered, it is one of the best ratios that I could come up with for high quality education to low cost. I was able to pay for my entire schooling for 2 or 3 semesters at some of the local universities where I grew up. So why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I fly halfway across the country to go to Utah Valley University versus staying in Duluth or staying in Minnesota to go to the U of M, to go to St. Scholastica, to go to one of these other colleges that, yes, maybe they have good programs, but they're also expensive as hell. Like, even paying out-of-state tuition at UVU, I still ended up paying far less than I would have if I had stayed in-state in Minnesota. And finally, before college, of course, it's the one thing that gets beaten to your head as a high school student: apply for scholarships. I know you hear it all the time, but it really does help. I personally wasn't able to earn many scholarships because I am a smart middle class white boy, and there aren't many scholarships for smart middle class white boys going out to college. But certainly there are a number of scholarship opportunities that you might be able to get for yourself. So certainly try it, see what happens. Well, technically not a scholarship. I was able to earn a out-of-state tuition waiver for UVU. Essentially, my scores on certain tests were good enough where they said, okay, yeah, we're going to invite you to our school, and you don't have to pay the out-of-state tuition. You just have to pay in-state tuition, which was a couple $1,000s less. So absolutely take that. Take any advantage that you can get to lower the cost of schooling that you have. Next is the during college phase of student loans. First, I want to say this. Have fun in college. It's a good time. You can make the most of it, but don't waste your time. You're presumably going to college because it's the only way or the best way for you to get into the career of your choice. Plot out your college career from day one if you can, semester by semester. Create a class schedule for each semester to graduate as fast as you can. I did this and it took me like 1 to 2 days to plot out every single class I would have to take to get to graduation. And it helped me out in a number of ways because one, it showed me, hey, you have some free slots here, here, and here to add some extra fun classes in there. And if you had that free time, absolutely throw the fun classes in there. I learned how to do ballroom dancing. I took some art classes. I did a couple other classes in there that I didn't necessarily have to do, or that were elective classes that were quote unquote required for me to graduate, but it was still fun. So just because you're going fast doesn't mean that you can't have fun at the same time. But also by plotting out semester by semester, I can know, yes, I have this many classes left. I can generally plot out these are the professors that I want to take classes from. And also just less mental overhead over time, where you don't have to think repeatedly, oh, wait a second, what am I going to do next semester? You already plotted it out. You did all the work up front. So now it's just following through on your commitments that you made early on. Next, if you can, work while you're in college to help pay for basic necessities and to potentially start paying off debts that you may have before you even graduate. I did this. I worked all throughout my college career having a part time job. And if you can, try to find something nice and flexible. I had a decent part time job that I could put in hours whenever I wanted. So I could work, theoretically, I could work from 3 a.m. to like 6 a.m. if I wanted to. But point being, if you can get a job to help pay for schooling while you're in school and it doesn't interfere with your classes, do it. It'll help cover your basic daily necessities, and you can use that cash, extra cash that you have, to do some investing, to start paying down some debts early on, etc. For me, that meant instead of having $31,334 in debt when I walked across the stage during graduation, I only actually had about $26,000 after accounting for interest, early payments, etc. So it can really help cut off some of that extra debt that you're going to be incurring during college. Next is to, of course, continue applying for grants and scholarships. At the end of my college career, I ended up earning about $3,000 to $4,500 in scholarship money during my college career. Around the end more, but it still added up because I had good grades and the school said, hey, you're doing a good job. We'll help pay for some of your schooling a little bit more. So that was great. But once again, I'm going to come back to this. Make the most of your college experience. Get to know your professors, join projects, do cool stuff that actually interests you. Yes, have fun, but you're there for a purpose. Make the most of it. Have fun, but learn. Keep your expenses to a minimum and build good financial habits. Build up an emergency savings account, allocate some funds to guilt-free spending, pay for your necessities, and allocate the rest to paying off your schooling. That's the basic process that I had. I built up an emergency savings that could last me about 3 or 4 months in case I happened to lose my job. I had a little bit of free spending money that I used to work on projects all throughout college, buying materials such as silver wire, gemstones, woodworking tools, etc. Definitely a lot of money was spent on projects. I still ended up shoving away a couple $1,000s into investment accounts over that time spent in university, and it was very relaxed. Just build good financial habits. This is the time that you can really start to develop that for yourself. Then finally, as you near graduation, start applying for jobs and start applying for a lot of jobs, which cleanly leads me into the after college part of my student loan payoff plan. Start by reducing your costs as much as possible. If your goal is to pay off your student loans as fast as physically possible, like mine was, then the closer to zero you can get, the better. For me, that looked like making a deal with my parents where I could move back in with them for a year while I pushed 100% of my paycheck towards paying off my student loans. talk about reducing your costs to zero. But if that's not an option for you, you can still take the same principle of how can I reduce my costs as much as physically possible? The more you can reduce, the more you can put away towards paying off student loans faster. Next is to take advantage of what's called the grace period, where some of your student loans won't actually be accruing interest for a couple months after you graduate, about 6 to 12 months, just depending on how your loan structure is set up. What that means is that you can more easily prioritize which loans to pay off first, namely focusing on the student loans that are currently 1, accruing interest, and 2, have a higher interest rate than those that are currently in grace period and not accruing interest. The next phase, of course, is to find the best job you can as fast as you can. This one took me a little bit longer than I was hoping. I ended up applying to over 100 jobs the month I graduated, only got 2 job interviews, but did get 2 job offers. And ultimately, the best offer for me came from emailing a local company directly, getting off the job boards, so try that if you're having some bad luck. And it turned out to be the best job for me in the moment. It paid well, it was close enough for me to walk to work, eliminating the need for a car and all the costs associated with owning a car, and the job itself was pretty interesting. With a job found, it's honestly now as simple as push as much as you possibly can towards paying off student loans. Starting with the highest interest loan first, this is the easiest optimization you can make to reduce the total amount you pay over time. If you don't have an emergency savings, set aside some of your paycheck to do this and for other necessary expenses you might have, but generally, start by paying off the loans with the highest interest first, making the minimum payments on each other loan until you pay off that first loan, then work your way down that list as fast as you can. Then, of course, the obvious way to make this go by faster is to earn more. Work hard and get a raise from your job, work overtime, work extra hours, or earn extra income elsewhere, such as from a side hustle, a second job, or starting a business, something like that. In the end, I ended up paying $31,334 for the principal balance, and an additional $1,027.72 in interest, for a total payment of $32,361.72. And when you consider that most people that have a similar loan size to me end up paying on average about $20,000 additional in interest, I think you're starting to see why I'm so insistent on paying off my student loans as fast as possible, and why it's such a great thing for you to do. Finally, I wanted to touch a little bit on some tips to make it easier. Learn how to have fun for free. Free or cheap hobbies will be a blessing to your entire life. That could just be going for walks, picking up a good book, going to the library, finding free or cheap things in your local area that you can enjoy, because you don't need money to enjoy hobbies, to enjoy life. Next is to enjoy what you already have and take good care of what you already own. I had a nice laptop from school that I still use to this day. Most of my clothes that I keep, I bought in college or from before. They're all still in great shape. This is just a good life habit to have, to take care of the things that you already have, so you don't have to replace it frequently. Next, if you acquire a lump sum of cash, such as a hefty tax return, use it to pay down your debts faster, or take a little bit to splurge on yourself as a reward. Ideally, split it about 50-50 or find some happy medium in there, where you can say, yep, I'm going to take a good section of this lump sum that I earned, use that to help pay down some debt, but also going to take a little bit for myself so I can enjoy it. Consider it a little reward for yourself. And speaking of rewards, celebrate your wins. Do something nice and ideally cheap for yourself for each loan that you pay off, then a bigger celebration once you're all done. For me, I decided that once all my loans were paid off, I could blow the entirety of my next paycheck on whatever I want with no remorse. So it's one big celebration at the end for me to say, yes, I did it. I saved all of my money for the past year to pay off everything. I'm debt-free. I'm happy. I'm excited. Let's go have some fun. In summary, these are the key steps for paying off your debt faster. This isn't just limited to student loans, but debt in general. See if you need to get in debt in the first place. If you don't have to, then really don't. If you do have to go into debt, or if you choose to go into debt, limit how much debt you get into to only what's necessary. Reduce your costs. Pay as much as you can each paycheck towards paying off your debt, starting from the highest interest to the lowest interest, paying the minimum required on everything else. Increase your income, find your cheap thrills, and celebrate your wins. If you enjoyed this episode, then please share with a friend you think would like it, or share it on social media. It would absolutely mean the world to me and helps the podcast grow so much. With all that said, thanks for listening. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all later. Ciao.